Hello, 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 all of you beautiful nerds from around the world. What is going on, guys? It is Josh, and we are back talking about this absolutely insane news topic. And that would be, of course, Kevin Feige doing a Star Wars movie. This is legitimately blowing my mind. When I saw this come up yesterday, I was like, there's no way. There's no way that this is real. But alas, it is real. This is a real thing. This is actually going to be happening. And I apologize if you were watching the stream before. I don't know what was going on there. The stream was offline or something like that. Every once in a while, and not just every once in a while, a lot of the time, YouTube throws really weird stuff on you. I also need to say, if you're watching this on the replay, and you've never been to a fan chat live before, the way this works is it's pretty casual. It's basically just a live stream, kind of long form content, going to be talking about this issue with the subscribers, doing a lot of Q&A with different people. So guys, what we're going to do is I'll blabber a little bit about some of my thoughts, but I want to get right into Q&A as fast as possible. Could you guys do me a favor though? Could somebody please share this stream out on Twitter? Because I tried to share it before on the last one, and the stream was like not up or whatever. So yeah, if you could drop a like and if you could share this stream on Twitter, that would go a long way. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So first of all, as you guys are coming into the chat, I need to know, how do you feel about this Kevin Feige doing a Star Wars movie thing? This is as real as it gets. Like this is, I mean, I would say it's confirmed, and I would stand behind that. I mean, the Hollywood Reporter reported on it. I spoke to a couple of other people about it, and they confirmed it as well. Yeah, it really does seem like this is 1,000% a real thing. Like he basically pitched this idea in late summer, kind of let it be known that, hey, like he wanted to do Star Wars, and yeah, they pretty much made it happen. You know what I mean? I see some excitement in the chat. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool, dude. Yeah, Tom Holland as Cade Skywalker could be awesome, right? Could be freaking awesome. So there's, we know nothing about what kind of a movie he's going to be doing, right? I would just say this. The thing that's really interesting to me, and I was talking to some different people. I was talking to Al Schuler a little bit about this as well. And the thing that's really interesting is if some of the things we're reading coming out of Lucasfilm are real as of late, it really feels like what Star Wars is kind of doing, and this is just my opinion, is sort of doing as much of an apology as they can without apologizing. Do you know what I mean? Like, essentially, they don't want to come out. It's a bad look for them to come out and sort of throw anybody under the bus or kind of admit that things didn't go the way that they wanted to or whatever. But yeah, I would basically say that some of the stuff that I'm reading is that, yeah, this is them kind of apologizing and making it be known that they are going to take more time this time. Because what we know right now is that we have a 3-year period till we literally have a 3-year period until this goes down, until the next Star Wars movie. And so it is time for them to actually prepare. You know what I mean? Yeah, how bad is the lag, guys? I see that there's some lag in chat. Please let me know how bad it is. I know we were having trouble in the last live stream. I really don't know what the issue could be here. Everything looks good on my end, so I'm not really sure if there's anything I could do to fix it. But yeah, so essentially here, we know that they're kind of taking more time. Now, it was announced, I want to say it was like 6 months ago, maybe 9 months ago, that the only 3 slated film spots for Star Wars movies were coming in those year gaps that was in, I believe, 2022, 2024, and 2026, right? So basically, we were only going to be getting one Star Wars movie every 2 years with a 3-year gap. So that essentially meant like a 9-year window. Within a decade-year window, there was essentially only going to be 3 Star Wars films, okay? Now, I'm starting to question that. I'm really starting to question that because there's a number of different things that happened after that, reports that we heard that were kind of wacky. Number one, it came out that Lucasfilm had hired a writer, and it was a female writer, and she was, I believe, a writer for one of the video games. She was involved in one of the video game companies or something like that, but she was hired to pen a draft of a Knights of the Old Republic script. They literally had her hired to do the Knights of the Old Republic script, okay? Then we hear that Dan and Dave are signed to do the next series of Star Wars films. That was going to be a trilogy. The big buzz, the word on the street was that it was going to be the Old Republic. You know what I mean? And so that was sort of the train that we were on. We're like, okay, so after this Skywalker saga wrap up, we're going to go to the Old Republic, do 3 films with Dan and Dave, okay? But then, of course, as some people are pointing out in the comments, Dan and Dave then signed on to get that big Netflix deal. And so it's like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? On top of that, Rian Johnson is still continuing to tell people that, yeah, he's going to be doing a Star Wars movie. But the comments he made the last time he was asked about this were really interesting, where he said basically they're trying to figure out their timeline. You know what I mean? Like, it's the ball's in their court, so to speak. They're trying to figure their stuff out. What I'm hearing from, different people is that within Lucasfilm, they're trying to figure out the future of Star Wars, what to do with this brand moving forward. They also want to do stuff with Indy, right? So they also want to do some Indiana Jones stuff. This is something we've been hearing about for a couple of years now, but it does appear that they will do something with Indiana Jones moving forward. But Star Wars is really like the bread and butter. Like, Star Wars is really where a lot of the value from Lucasfilm was said to be coming from. It's, in my opinion, one of the biggest brands, if not the biggest brand out there, right? And so what it really seems like they're doing is kind of taking their time to make all of these plans. And basically what I'm saying is we might not get Dan and Dave Old Republic stuff. That might not actually happen. If it does happen next, could you imagine a scenario in which Kathy, Kevin Feige, and Dan and Dave are all producing a film? Feels kind of like too many cooks in the kitchen. Do you know what I mean? This is the other. This leads into actually another interesting topic here. Is that I actually believe that Feige himself does not necessarily play well with others when it comes to producing. He's very like Iron Feige with the way that he does things. He's the sole producer on most of the MCU movies at this point, and so it feels like. I mean, like, I'm excited. Like, I'm super excited to see what happens. But it feels like, after taking all of these different shots, because essentially, like, if you really look at the patterns of Kathy's hires, the way that Star Wars has been trying to position themselves, you think about it, they get J.J. Abrams to do The Force Awakens. He's a big name, right? He's a big freaking name. He at that time, huge. I mean, yeah, just boom, big name. You get Rian Johnson. Huge name at that time, just really popping off as a director. You get Gareth Edwards, he's hot. So they're going after sort of like hot directors, right? Even Lord and Miller, that was sort of a pick of buzz, right? Dan and Dave is arguably a pick for buzz as well, and yet it seems like with all of these situations, they become problematic for one reason or another. Like the Dan and Dave thing is so wild because who would have guessed that the last season of this show was going to be so brutally hated by fans that Dan and Dave, who we once thought were these like epic creators with such pull in Hollywood, might not really have that pull anymore. A lot of fans might be particularly upset about that. Do you know what I mean? So it's sort of a weird thing where I've felt for a long time that Star Wars just keeps getting unlucky. You know what I mean? Like they just keep kind of in a lot of different ways, like getting unlucky with what's going on. And the one thing about Feige is this dude knows how to make movies, and he runs a tight freaking ship, man, like a really, really tight ship. So if there's production problems, like this is something that I shouldn't say nobody, but at least in the stuff that I looked at, I didn't see a lot of people talking about this. One of the things that Kathy has done poorly or has struggled with is production cost. You know what I mean? Like, think about Rogue One. Rogue One adds a lot of money. Essentially, the stories behind the scenes were that they shot 90% of that. I don't know if that's true. I've heard maybe it's less, 60, 70% of that film. They reshoot that, balloon up the cost of that, right? Han Solo, balloon up the cost of that. Tons and tons of production problems. The Force Awakens had tons of production problems, tons of reshooting. you know, moving Michael Arndt off that script, putting together. No, Trev, I'm thinking about both of them. Rogue One had Tony Gilroy come in and totally rework that film. They paid Tony Gilroy $10 million to come in and fix up Rogue One. So it's Solo and it's Rogue One. Yeah, and The Force Awakens had a ton of troubles as well. Funny enough, the one film out of the four that didn't seem to have that much production problems was The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi went off pretty much without a hitch behind the scenes. And you can make your arguments on whether or not they should have had some hitches, maybe. But by and large, that was not a problem. Feige is pretty freaking tight with his productions. You know what I mean? Like super tight. Even if you look at some of the big balloon movies, it's actually incredible that they made Endgame and Infinity War for the budgets that they made them. Like when you think about what's visually going on in those films, it's absolutely insane. And the different list of actors and everything, like Feige's just really clean with that. And he has this like super solid team. So one would imagine if Feige gets a Star Wars movie, it's not just Kev, but all of that team, like that crazy team that helps out with the MCU. You know what I mean? They'd come in and do a Star Wars movie. Also, oh man, this is pretty crazy too. What if next year, which looks to be kind of more of a quiet year for the MCU, what if that's the year that he's doing his Star Wars stuff? You know what I mean? I don't think it will be because they need more time. They need more time over there at Lucasfilm to develop exactly what they want to do and how they want to do this moving forward. But yeah, absolute craziness. Like, I just think this is such a freaking smart move. I was really surprised at all the positivity I saw in the comment section of the show. A lot of people are pretty excited about this. You know what I mean? Like, I saw a lot of people saying, like, don't give me hope. Like, holy crap, this would actually bring me back to Star Wars and different things like that. And, it's like I tell a lot of people, it's not that I want Star Wars to be in a bad place, but the reality of the situation is like Star Wars is not in the best place. And even though for many fans out there, the sequel trilogy is cool and we're very excited for Star Wars Episode 9, I think we can't really deny that there's just a large group of Star Wars fans that have sort of checked out or kind of become apathetic to Star Wars. And particularly when they lose the draw of the Skywalker saga, they definitely need a draw back. Do you know what I mean? Like, they definitely need a draw. And Kevin Feige producing a Star Wars movie is absolutely that draw. Now, guys, we're going to get into Q&A in just a second here, so start getting your questions ready, and we will dive into that Q&A and get super deep and just go for a while just talking about this stuff because I'm really excited in what different people are thinking and different questions that people have about it. Now, I would say right off the bat, and this is all sort of projecting. Like, I can't get inside the head of Feige, right? But the one thing that gets me really, really excited, the one thing that's got me pretty pumped here, give me 1 second here. I got to take a drink. Feige gives such fan service and eye candy with the MCU that, like, one of the things that's been so frustrating for me is, like, why aren't there more Sith? Why aren't there more Jedi? Like, lightsabers and force powers are the coolest freaking thing that you have. Why isn't Star Wars making more use out of the cool, flashy, dope Sith and Jedi stuff? We've had, like, 2 lightsabers in the sequel trilogy. It drives me nuts, right? So one thing I'll say for Feige right off the bat is, like, this dude's going to take, like, open up a box of, like, Jedi and Sith goodness and lightsabers and stuff like that and just pour it in. You know what I mean? Just pour it into whatever Star Wars thing he covers. Like, that's really what I'm expecting. And that's the way that it should be. And man, I would really like him to produce an Old Republic movie. Especially if they go the route of sort of setting up the next 10 years to exist in the Old Republic era, and they want to really neatly tie everything together, and they want to have a sort of MCU version of Star Wars and have it all take place in within the Old Republic era, then, like, dude, I can think of no better way to do that than to have Feige not only produce the first movie in the Old Republic, but to use that first movie to set up the connective tissue and to help the producers and everybody over there at Star Wars really understand how he does it with the connective tissue. You know what I mean? Like, that is ultimately that's the tool. Like that's the thing that he does that nobody else has been able to replicate and nobody else can really touch. And so could we see an MCU? Could we see a Star Wars like MCU created within the era of the Old Republic with just so many Sith? I was already excited because I even though I despise not the last season of Game of Thrones, but overall the ending, particularly the last episode, like I really have strong feelings about that. But at the very least, I was excited that Dan and Dave would take the skill set that they have into the Old Republic. And I really believed that, and I still believe that the Old Republic is sort of a perfect launch point for where Star Wars should go next, like where they should play and create the next decade of Star Wars. So that's kind of my thoughts. But yeah, please, guys, drop some questions on in there. Let's get into Q&A. Of course, if you've got a super chat, it helps the channel out, supports the channel. I will read every single super chat that comes in. But if you don't have any loot, don't worry about it. Just drop your questions in, and we'll just get to as many questions in the chat as we possibly can. Let me know, too, how's the stream looking and sounding? I tried to make it better. I'm going to have to deep dive on these issues because I know we had issues with the last live stream, and I know we had issues today, too, so kind of tough. Let's see here. Let's start with Austin's question. What kind of plot characters would you like to see for Feige Star Wars movie? Young Yoda? I mean, young Yoda would be dope. I mean, I would like young Yoda. You know what I mean? I really would. But I don't know if that's necessarily something that they want to do. I really feel like this is an opportunity for them to start a little bit more fresh. But, you know, one of the things, and I'll kind of name drop what Al was talking about. Al was saying that it's possible that we could get a Star Wars or the Kenobi. Basically, like if there's a way for Kenobi to be the next level of or the next area in which they will do the saga in, like perhaps the Skywalker saga is over, but maybe it's now time to do the Kenobi saga. Like what if Kenobi did have a grandson or a grandchild or something like that, and then, you know, later on that's the direction that we go in. I would be okay with that. I also said, you know, in the show that I thought it would be really cool if like Mace Windu came back. You know what I mean? Like an older Mace Windu. Exactly. Mace Windu movie would be pretty freaking sick. So that's what I would say, but I think I already kind of explained my ultimate wish here, and that would be that we would do the Old Republic and set up the Sith Empire and the Jedi Empire and have a very big conflict with many cool Sith. Like ultimately, I would like to see a collection of Sith royalty and, you know, Sith, like powerful Sith that we would learn throughout the films, and that some of them would die off and different things like that. You know what I mean? And then like a new Jedi council of new Jedi that we could learn about and explore. That's kind of my ultimate wish. You know what I mean? So that's what I would like. Let's see here. Fable says, Tom Holland in Star Wars, do you think that Disney will lock him up to a 10-year deal as another Feige-esque move to block Sony from extending him past Spider-Man 4? So yeah, this is something we talked about on the show earlier today. It's very possible. And so funny too, because Al got upset because he's a producer, right? So we were thinking about, he's always thinking about videos, just like I'm always thinking about videos. And so Al was thinking about how Tom Holland as a Star Wars character would be such a move, would be such a Feige move, dude. And I love it. I love the ruthlessness of this dude. And, you know, very smiling and professional, you know, with the cameras on and, you know, in the meetings and stuff like that. That's ultimately, that's just sick, dude. That's the kind of leader you want, right? But yeah, so yeah, we talked about that on the show this morning, and Al was super pissed that I beat him to the punch on that. But yeah, I think that's something a lot of people are talking about. It would be absolutely hilarious and such a power play, because if you're Tom Holland, it's very hard to say no to continuing the Spider-Man character. That's a very difficult thing. He wants to play Spider-Man forever. Spider-Man was his dream. You know what I mean? That was his childhood dream. But Star Wars is and still is a pretty significant brand. Obviously, being a part of the Star Wars family is huge forever. You know what I mean? And what's really crazy is I think the draw of a Feige Star Wars, like I say, put the band back together, dude. Feige produced, Russo brothers directed, Tom Holland starring. Like, just do it. You know what I mean? Like, just give it to us, baby. So yeah, in my opinion, that would be freaking dope. That would be really, really cool. And what's up, Jess? I saw you. I saw you in here. What if Iron Man was Obi-Wan and Spider-Man was Anakin? Yeah, that would be pretty funny. Let's see here. Infinite Moi. If Palpatine did create Vader, doesn't that make him the last Skywalker? Curious. If does that make Palpatine the last Skywalker? Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I've always thought that he made there was Shmi, like Shmi Skywalker was a person. She was real. But the whole idea is that if there really was no father, that perhaps that birth, rather than being some kind of miraculous birth, even though, either way it's pretty miraculous, but perhaps that was actually Sheev tinkering with the midichlorians or something like that. So, let's see here. Nicholas asks, "Did you hear about Darth Plagueis the Wise?" I didn't hear anything about Darth Plagueis the Wise other than the tragedy of Plagueis the Wise, which is not a story the Jedi would tell you. Let's see here. Jared says, "I was wondering what your thoughts on Vader Immortal are. Do you have any theories or ideas about what they have shown us so far?" So I haven't played. I played Vader Immortal when I was in Chicago for Star Wars Celebration. That was really cool. We got to sample it, but I didn't actually buy an Oculus Quest yet. Now I've been actually thinking about, like, literally every time I go into Best Buy, and I go into Best Buy a lot for like different things for the channel, here and there, whether that be power cords, light bulbs. I just got a DCI cord, different things like that. So I'm always in there, and every time I go past the Oculus Quest, I'm like, I just got to buy this freaking thing. You know what I mean? But I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. Maybe I'll do that later. And I want to run through all of Vader Immortal. I will say I do find it really interesting, that whole family and the possible connection to Snoke, and that Snoke could be the Black Bishop. I really like that. Like, I think that's really, really cool. So yeah, that would be really sweet. That would be really sweet. If they did Rule of Two, they would just show it in the post-Old Republic movie, basically being the Kevin movie. Yeah, so what's really interesting about that is, yeah, Darth Bane does slaughter a lot of Sith once he establishes the Rule of Two. So this could be a thing. Like, and frankly, that would just be absolutely nuts. Like, what if the Old Republic trilogy that they work on ends with, like, the Empire and the Sith Empire being defeated, and then Bane literally just kills all these Sith, just runs through all the remaining Sith, and then is just like, yeah, takes his apprentice, maybe Revan, maybe someone else, and then they just go away. You know what I mean? Just escape. That would be absolutely nutso. Let's see here. Constable Wiggleworth with a $5 super chat. Hey, guess whose pension just kicked in? I'm going to guess it's yours. And that's awesome, man. Yo, Ryan H. in the building. What's going on, Ryan? What's going on? Let's see here. Matt C. asks, what would you like to see Tom Hardy play if in Star Wars? Tom Holland Sith, Tom Holland Padawan. I mean, so I think he strikes me. I'm going to always go Sith naturally, because I just want, like, more dope Sith. Like, come on. We haven't had enough cool Sith lately. But it's really hard for me to imagine Tom Holland being a Sith. He strikes me as the perfect young male protagonist for the next generation of Star Wars movies. He strikes me as that kind of a dude. You know what I mean? Like, he just embodies that. I think he would be so good as a Jedi. You know what I mean? Or as some kind of force-wielding person, whether it be a bounty hunter or something like that. I legitimately believe he would be absolutely perfect for that. He's Broom Kid. Al Schuler just nailed it. He's Broom Kid. Or Broom Boy. Somebody please make a meme movie poster of Tom Holland as Broom Boy. Somebody do that. I'll put it in the next video. That would be amazing. He could totally play a young Palpatine as well. But, I mean, don't we kind of want to let go of the Palpatine thing? Like, I love Palps. I'm so excited that he's in Episode 9. Like, dude, I'm like you. I don't care. Like, everybody's like, oh, they just brought him back to bring. Even if that's true, I don't care. I love me some Palpatine. But I don't think he should. I don't think we should do that. I think we should leave Palps alone. How many times are we going to go back to the Palp well? You know what I mean? Josh, think of how awesome a Feige-produced Taika Waititi-directed Star Wars movie would be. You just blew my mind, dude. You just blew my freaking mind. Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. Yeah, I'm into that. I'm definitely into that. I am definitely into that. Ooh, Gray Dawn says he could be Ezra Bridger. Wow, guys, you're gonna have to stop blowing my mind because I like get so speechless that I just have dead air on the stream, and it's no good. So as much as I'm loving this, please stop blowing my mind. Please stop blowing my mind. Yeah, Taika is doing Mandalorian. It's really cool that like the Disney family, like the way that it all works is like they're just really awesome company people. So like even Feige pitching this idea is like a company like that's like a good company man kind of move. You know what I mean? Like not only can he do it, and I think he really just wants to do it, but honestly, like it is really going to help Star Wars out. Either way, like think about it this way. Like I know there's people out there that think Star Wars is completely fine, and it like literally boggles my mind that people can't see what's actually happening. But let's just say you're one of those people, and you're like, no, Star Wars is completely fine. Even if that was the case, how is Feige coming to do a Star Wars movie not still amazing? You know what I'm saying? Like it's still amazing. It's still amazing. It still propels Star Wars to a different place. You know what I mean? So I legit think this is good no matter where you stand. And like I said before, you know, I kind of mentioned this earlier in the chat, but I was actually really blown away at how many people are so positive on this. How many people are so positive on this possibility? It's really a cool thing to see. Something like this had to happen for the fan base, I truly believe. So I'm very, very excited. Maverick Pilgrim says, could we handle a brand new story, brand new characters with maybe a newly knighted Yoda? Yeah. So Maverick, we were talking about a little bit before you got in here, and I saw you peep in just a little bit ago. I was talking a lot about how I believe that the best way for them to do this is still Old Republic. And if Feige helps them to launch an Old Republic with a bunch of just new characters, everything's new, but plenty of Sith, plenty of Jedi, plenty of Force using stuff. That would be the way to do it, and he could potentially use his skills at building connective tissue and bridging the gaps on films that they could have the Old Republic be the next decade of Star Wars and really treat it like a phases of an MCU. You know what I mean? Like I really think that would be the way to do it. That would be the way to go. Let's see here. David Nation says, what if Feige got Jon Favreau to help the movie possibly direct? I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I think Jon Favreau is an amazing director, although I kind of want to see, depending on how Mandalorian is, but I'm expecting it to be absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. So my mind is like, dude, keep Jon on making as many of those as possible. You know what I mean? As many Mandos as possible. It would be really interesting to possibly get a Dave Filoni kind of situation going on where Dave Filoni starts to maybe work a little bit more hand in hand. Like you know, it's the best way these things happen is just by all being introduced to each other. Obviously, Favreau has a great relationship with Dave Filoni, and he has a great relationship with Kevin Feige. These guys, you know what I love about all these guys? They're nerds. They're one of us. These guys are nerd day. You know what I'm saying? And so to get all three of those dudes in a room and start talking about some Star Wars movies and some stuff they want to do next, I mean, that's just some mind-blowing stuff. Not to mention that it really looks like moving forward that George will be a creative consultant on probably everything Star Wars moving forward. You know what I mean? Like, it's very possible that Disney is trying to sort of bridge that relationship at the very least for optics sake, because that's just kind of what I read from some of their more recent moves, and George being involved with The Mandalorian and George being involved with Episode 9. That's kind of where my head goes with that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, Jess. Disney wants to get far away from the Skywalker saga as possible, but that does come with its own set of problems. You know what I mean? That just comes with its own set of problems. Constable Wiggleworth, you popped your super chat cherry? Awesome, bro. Happy to do that for you. This is the perfect movie. We all know that Star Wars and Marvel fans aren't necessarily the same side of the nerd coin, and now this is a great way to get them on the same page. You know what's so funny, Ryan? And I know you kind of know this because we talk about this kind of stuff so much, but so running this channel has been a really interesting and fun thing, right? One of the things that's been very interesting is to watch how Star Wars fans and Marvel fans collide. So we spent the last 6 to 8 months on this channel building up a lot of subscribers, mostly from Marvel stuff. Now, I've always made Star Wars content, and I've always been a huge Star Wars fan. I'm a fanboy. I'm a Star Wars fanboy. Like, I don't deny it. And so it's been really interesting to me to try to mix these two things. You'll find that when we're having a lot of Marvel videos popping up, blowing up, that it's actually kind of tricky to get a Star Wars video to blow up, because what happens on YouTube is a lot of the video will be put out to the people that most recently watched the channel. And so I've actually been watching Star Wars fans and Marvel fans collide, and I'm like trying to get them to come together. And this is literally the best way to do that. Like, this is what I've been trying to do on the channel for like 3 to 4 months now. And Star Wars might do it. Like, literally this one move, bringing this one guy over to produce these things, might actually do it. And like, honestly, like, you don't understand how cool that is for me. Like, you guys just don't get how cool that is. Because if Star Wars can get on the MCU's level just a little bit, like, I will never sleep. Like, I will be hooked up I'll have like some kind of weird machine hooked up to me, and I will just literally make content constantly, because there will just always be stuff that's happening. The MCU will just kind of always be cranking out stuff, and then when it's not, the new Star Wars universe will always be cranking out stuff, and it's just like I'll just be like a robot here, just making content for all of you guys, and I'll be very happy to do that, actually, which would be pretty awesome. Let's see here. Let's see here. Phil Bard says, Disney, stop trying to reinvent Star Wars. I love the Legends and Old Republic material. Give fans what they actually want. You know, Phil, I totally feel you, man. I mean, that's, obviously that's your opinion, and you're totally right to feel however you want to feel. I will say that the biggest thing, the biggest nugget of truth that I find in what you just said is that it is pretty mind-blowing that a lot of the EU, if you look back at the EU, there was just so much good Star Wars. Now, it doesn't all feel like George. It doesn't all feel like legit Star Wars, but plenty of it feels, I would argue, way more like Star Wars than a lot of the stuff we get in the sequels. And so it's kind of mind-blowing that the EU was able to tell all these really good Star Wars stories, and Disney has struggled so significantly in making Star Wars stories that really connect with the mass group of people, right? I think Force Awakens, a lot of people, when they read that George Lucas chapter in Bob Iger's book, was like, oh yeah, no, Force Awakens totally not good. I disagree completely. I think The Force Awakens is a monumental success, and even though it is sort of a soft reboot, that was exactly what they needed to do. And it really did introduce a huge group of new people to Star Wars. Think about it. Star Wars was so hot. Like, do you guys remember how many different people you had conversations with that were saying like, oh, I've never really been into Star Wars, but this new movie's kind of got me? I remember so many people, because I was always the nerd. I was always the guy that was like really into Star Wars. And then all of a sudden I see all these other people that are just more, whether they be Marvel fans or just kind of more movie fans or fans that just want to be into whatever's happening in the pop culture zeitgeist. I saw a lot of people jump on the Star Wars bandwagon after The Force Awakens. So it succeeded in doing what it had to do. But really and truly, Disney hasn't created a single great Star Wars movie. I think Rogue One is probably the closest, but they haven't really created anything like great. And they can. Like, I would love for Star Wars movies in the future to be so good that we actually start to compare them to Empire and stuff. And we're like, whoa, this could potentially be the best Star Wars that's ever happened. And I think that's possible. I don't think it's blasphemy to think that could happen. Let's see here. We got a super chat coming in from Trev. Feige adapts comics. Maybe he adapts Dr. Aphra, and you get your favorite actress Brie Larson as that. P.S. Not all EU novels were good. Totally true about the EU novels. And for the record, I don't as much have a problem with Brie Larson. I always get into this is always so tricky, you know what I mean? But I'm glad we're on a live stream so that you guys can really feel where I'm coming from. Let me try to tackle this issue. I have zero problem with Brie Larson. My problem is with the optics and how, like, literally just she has such negativity attached to her that I would ultimately hate for that negativity to tarnish anything that's dope coming out of Star Wars. You know what I mean? I don't think that's fair, by the way. Like, it's not fair to Brie Larson. Totally unfair. In fact, I think a lot of that was created by algorithms and by a lot of like content creators just making content that was working, and it really pissed people off, and people love clicking on stuff that pisses them off and all that. So I don't think it's fair to Brie, but it's also just the way it is. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, I'm like, as a fan of the thing, as a fan of Star Wars, as a fan of the brand, I don't want Brie to come in because I don't want the negativity that will inevitably follow her to come in. I'm like, no, 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 no. Keep that over there. Now, maybe in a couple of years, the internet will be a little bit better and everyone will stop losing their freaking mind and we can get over that. Maybe then, yeah, and it'll be fine. But currently, that's kind of where I'm at with that. So I get why you said that, but I wanted to explain that. Explain that. You know what I'm saying? Yo, but seriously, have you seen the Old Republic cinematic trailers? They are literally some of the best Star Wars out there. Not regular trailers, totally story-based. Yeah, they're amazing. I used to use them in videos all the time, and they are incredible. The Old Republic is just so rich with that kind of lore, with those kind of toys to play on. Yeah, it's freaking amazing. It's freaking amazing stuff. So the Vitiate stuff, so cool, dude. Are you kidding me? So cool. With those two twins, mind-blowing stuff. Mind-blowing stuff. People used to hate Leonardo DiCaprio after Titanic, but now they don't. Fair point. Fair point, Queen Elsa. Let's see here. Do I think Star Wars Clone Wars returning, that they will tie Ahsoka into the final movie plot? At least her connection to the daughter in the World Between Worlds. I really hope so. So, Jared, that would be sweet. The problem is that's just too wild for people, dude. Particularly because the end of the Skywalker saga has to focus on the Skywalker saga. And without giving away any spoilers, it would really appear that the end of the film is going to explain the title, particularly even maybe the very last line of the film. And this will have to do with one of the characters, one of the main characters of the sequel trilogy. So, yeah. But yeah, I would love the Ahsoka thing. I mean, Ahsoka's sweet. I would like to see Dave Filoni tackle her, maybe put her in The Mandalorian in some way, or potentially have her in a future film or something like that. You know, I really want like them going after Ezra and trying to find Ezra to be a novel. And I know not everybody reads. You should, but dude, the reason I love these novels, particularly like the Thrawn novels and like Master and the Apprentice and you know, Lost Stars and stuff like that, you just get so much more time with the characters, and you get so much more time in the world. I like that so much more sometimes when it comes to Star Wars than I like in a film. You know what I mean? Like the classic example is like The Last Jedi versus The Last Jedi novelization. Like The Last Jedi novelization is so damn good. It is so damn good. I almost treat it as more canon than the movie. Now they're both canon, but The Last Jedi novelization just fills out so much more. There's so much more in there that gives context to different things. So yeah, I'm a big novel person, so I would like that. I'd like that. Kevin, do you think Holiday Special is the worst or is worse than Disney Star Wars? Oh, okay. Are you talking to somebody in the chat? I was like, what's going on there? Let's see here. What do I think of the Aftermath series? It's cool. It's not bad. I'm not a super big fan of Chuck Wendig's prose. It's kind of a little too jumpy for me. But the lore in there and some of the chapters are really cool. I like the Mr. Bones character a lot. I thought that character was really cool. The Acolytes of the Beyond, that's really cool in there. So there's some good stuff in there for sure, but not the biggest fan of his prose. Really hard for me to get into a novel. That's why I don't read Game of Thrones. I actually don't like George's prose at all. Craig DeLillo asks, what do I think of The Boys? Dude, The Boys is dope. The Boys is incredible. Some of the best superhero stuff ever. I've been trying to make a video about it forever. I'm going to probably just have to wait until season 2 at this point. But yeah. All right, let's see here. Crest Fresh 99 says, with Feige at the helm, will they stick to the formulaic nature of the MCU? Also, what's your confidence that this will be the Old Republic based? First part of the question first. Will it stick to the formulaic nature of the MCU? I believe it will stick to being more or less formulaic. Definitely not in the same way of the MCU, but yes, it'll be a tight ship that kind of falls back on the tropes, if that's what you're asking, which is just Star Wars. I think that that's fine. You know what I mean? I think that's totally fine. Allow it to be formulaic. I don't think that's going to be a problem. As far as what's my confidence that this will be Old Republic based, I believe when Feige pitched it, all he pitched was that he wanted to produce a Star Wars movie. I could be wrong, but I don't think he had any characters or plot or anything in mind. So it would stand to reason that they would plug him into whatever plan they are working on. And there's just a lot of smoke to suggest that what they are working on is the Old Republic. And so what is my confidence that this will be Old Republic based? I'd say probably 60-40, maybe 70-30, around there. That's pretty much where I'm at. Let's see here. Are you familiar with the storyline of Ulick, Queldrama, and Exar Kun? Not 100%. I'm a little bit familiar with Exar Kun's story, Jacob. I think he's a really cool character. He was like uber powerful, right? Because he's just teased in the Phantom Menace, and then I remember some writers took that character and did some nutso stuff with him, and I believe he becomes like crazy strong at one point. But that's really all I know about him. I think it's important to point out that just because people say the sequel trilogy has to be fixed doesn't mean the whole thing has to be scrapped. Only certain elements needs fixing. I think that's a totally fair point, Brian. Totally fair point. Do you think the fact that Disney keeps hammering the Skywalker saga in all the ads will mean the end of Episode 9 will give us a new name to follow these some of these characters under? I don't personally believe that will have anything to do with Episode 9, but I am not against that being a thing moving forward. If they want to create a new family, a new lineage, or even carry off one of the more established ones like Kenobi or Fisto, here's my idea. I'll go in there and be like, hey Feige, you remember Kit Fisto? Yeah, I think we should have the Fisto saga. That's what we should be doing. And like a lot of the movies will be like underwater and stuff. Yeah, so the Fisto saga, look for that coming soon in a theater near you. Jedi Academy trilogy, that would be pretty sick. That would be pretty sick. I'd be down. As I said many times already in the stream, what I really need, more lightsabers, more force powers. Give me some Sith, give me some Jedi. Let's make this thing happen, baby. Let's see here. Will you please make a video where you deep dive into Dark Avengers, discuss all the members from the comics, the personas they take on, and potential members we could see in the MCU? Yeah, I think I will. But we're probably going to have to wait just a little bit for that unless a producer wants to tackle it. But yeah, we'll probably have to wait a little bit on that. But yeah, that seems like a pretty good way to go. I mean, you guys know at this point I'm obsessed with the Dark Avengers. So yeah, that's I think something coming on the way. Josh, did you talk about the Sebastian Stan and Luke Skywalker in the Jedi Academy rumor? No, haven't heard about that actually. What is this rumor? Is this perhaps where Luke Skywalker formulates that Jedi Academy? And we get like an Indiana Jones version of young Luke Skywalker with Sebastian Stan going around the galaxy, messing stuff up? I wouldn't hate it. I would not hate it. Also, has anyone noticed not a single person has gotten dismembered in the new trilogy? Yeah, it's probably a Disney thing, unfortunately. Because we had heard that, check this out, the Jedi Fallen Order, the video game, there's no dismembering of stormtroopers in that game. You can dismember droids, but you can't dismember stormtroopers. So it's probably like a Disney thing. And I don't know how much of that plays into like foreign marketplaces and stuff, but I know different marketplaces have different regulations and stuff about that. Would they make movies with characters from the EU? They totally could. They've used plenty of EU characters in canon already. And so, yeah, why not? Why not? Some Grand Admiral Thrawn stuff or stuff with the Chiss would be really cool too. I'd be into that. When do I think we'll get an official announcement? You mean of this? Oh man, the next Star Wars celebration. You know, it'll just be like the D23 thing, where like we knew about the Kenobi movie for like months, and then like Kathy will come out on stage and be like, "I'd like to introduce you to another incredible producer, Kevin Feige," and then Kevin Feige will come out and everyone will freak out. So yeah, probably at a Star Wars celebration next year. Might even have some stuff to show us. I mean, if that's the thing, right? Like, here's another thing that I'm ultimately hoping. Feige is so much more than just a producer. Like, he literally shoots, he makes shooting schedules specifically so that they can take stuff to San Diego Comic-Con and show stuff. He understands fandom. He understands how to create buzz. This dude plays 60 chess. It's just so crazy. I'm such a fan of this guy. I can't explain to you how much of a big fan I am of Kevin Feige. And so my hope here is that they don't just bring him on as a namesake, but let him get his hands dirty. Let him show you the way. Do you know the way? Do you remember my favorite dead meme from 2018? Do you know the way? Because Feige knows the way. So, hopefully, next year at Star Wars Celebration, and hopefully Feige brings more than just a plucky attitude. I think that we could even see potential artwork, some ideas, some crazy stuff like that, and he knows how to get fans pumped up. And the dude's a huge Star Wars fan. He's a huge nerd. He's a huge nerd. It would be amazing if he used some of that ability to pump people up. Because even though, you know, it's arguable whether or not Kathy's really into Star Wars or not, one thing's for sure, if she is really into Star Wars, she's not great at expressing that in a way that gets crowds pumped up. She's just not that good at it. So, screw you, Kylo Rob. I'll never stop. Now, they certainly won't mix the universes. That's not going to happen. Although I will say, almost immediately once I heard about this, I thought of Patton Oswalt's filibuster from Parks and Rec. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Where he combines the Marvel universe with the Star Wars universe. It's pretty wild stuff, dude. Latest report from THR is Feige will produce a Campea spinoff for Disney Max. What are you talking about, dude? Kathy oversees everything, including the stuff you love. Yep, that's true. This is very true. Guys, we're going to go for about 10 more minutes. Get your questions in. Let us discuss Mr. Feige's Star Wars. Patreon really was the one that launched the MCU? Huh? Want to say what? Who would you want to play as Sith in the Old Republic? Well, Mads Mikkelsen, but he's kind of already been in. Maybe Javier Bardem. Javier Bardem would be a really cool Sith Lord. Man, I want to see Stallone. I want to see Stallone as a Sith Lord, dude. Yeah. That would be really cool. Robert Downey Jr. as a Jedi Master. I mean, maybe. I've seen that. You know, I've seen people talk about that. Christoph Waltz Sith. Ooh, I like that, Brian. I like that a lot. I would honestly like if Brie was gonna be in there, I would want her to be a Sith, and I'd like to see that side of her. I think that she could actually pull that off pretty well. I am a sucker for like sexy Sith ladies, so we definitely got to get some sexy Sith ladies up in there too. That would be a must-have for me. Let's see here. How do I think Mace could come back, Dizzy? So first of all, he survived the fall. He's obviously missing a hand, but he could have a robotic hand. Depending on how they do it, I mean, there's all sorts of ways. He could have been frozen in cryo for a long, long time. He could have self-preserved. He could have cloned himself. There's all sorts of different ways. You know, I think that the best way to do it is just for him to be super freaking old, and he just utilizes the power of the Force to keep himself alive. I think that would be the cool one to do it. Yep. See you later, Trev. And yeah, we should definitely do that. I think it would be cool, and you're more than welcome to do that anytime you want. Tom Hiddleston would be an amazing Sith. Oh my god, it would be perfect. He could actually be a really good Revan too, in my opinion. Scar Joseph, please. Yes, please. Super into that. That would be the way to do it. Let's see here. Do you think Feige could be doing the Darth Bane trilogy? It's possible. It's certainly possible. I don't think we'll ever. I don't know if we'll see Darth Malgus. I got to be honest. I'm not sure. I am not sure. It's such a wild. So wild. He survived that fall 100%, dude. Hey, look, if Palpatine could survive the freaking fall down the Death Star shaft as it's exploding, I'm pretty sure Mace Windu can survive that. Plus, like, everybody was talking about that, how Kylo in the last comic, his comic, was able to fall down this crazy thing and then, like, stop himself from hitting these sharp rocks. And everyone was like, that's how Palpatine did it. All I could think of was, like, that's how Mace Windu did it. You know what I mean? Like, Jedi can obviously survive falls like that. Let's see here. Brian Miller coming in hot with the super chat. Seems like RJ might have been right about DLF still working out timelines. When might we get a revised movie schedule timeline? I mean, so Ryan Johnson was talking about how Disney and Lucasfilm are still working out their timeline. Yeah, it's totally still true. They are trying to figure that situation out. As far as clarification on that, I don't know. I would expect them to try to have something ready to go next year at Celebration, but they've given themselves 3 years. So they've given themselves 3 years. They probably want to, by the end of the first year, be working on pre-production for the first movie. At the very least, 2 years in, and they want at least a year before that first movie. As far as when we could hear about the adjustments of the schedule, I mean, that can almost happen at any time. You know what I mean? And the next shareholder meeting could be like, we're actually adding a Star Wars movie. Kevin Feige's will now be in this year, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, possible. Let's see here. So if episode 9 does really do time travel, just stop. It's not going to. I'm not even going to read the rest of your question. No offense, Dan the man. No offense, but there's no way they're doing that. Howard the Duck Sith Lord? I'm into it. I feel you, Jacob. I feel you. No offense, but I hate popular actors in Star Wars movies, but I prefer animation. It takes me out of the immersion. I liked it when George does it. That's totally fair, Jack Attack. I think that there's something to that, but that's kind of what they did with the sequel trilogy people. Like, Daisy was pretty much nobody when they cast her, and even though Adam Driver was on the come-up, nobody really knew who he was. So they essentially did cast a bunch of nobodies in the sequel trilogy. It didn't seem to have that much of effect one way or the other. Also, anyone see Daisy Ridley on Triple Force Friday say Pisana was the place we've seen before? Did she mean in other trailers, or it's a renamed planet? I did not see that, but I'm assuming she meant in the trailers. Maybe. I don't know. Who do I think the actor is that Kevin Feige always wanted in Star Wars? Please read. I would say Tom. My favorite right now are Tom Holland, Tom Hiddleston, or Sam Jackson. They totally adjusted the schedule with Inhumans. They can do whatever they want, and we will pay them for it. Yeah, they can definitely change stuff around. And particularly because Feige is also in charge of the MCU, so he can move stuff around there, too, if he needs to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we're going to be okay, guys. Let's see here. I just don't want people like Brie Larson in Star Wars. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I get. Actually, that's a totally fair point because you just see Captain Marvel or Loki when you look at Tom or Brie. I think that's fair, but ultimately, a great actor disappears in the role. Like that's why I love Gary Oldman so much. You watch Gary Oldman movies and you're like, dude, that was Gary Oldman. That's pretty much what the reaction, and that's how you know it's like a truly great actor that can just disappear in the role. So, although yeah, that's fair. I do think that there are really great actors that could disappear in that role. Out of all of the MCU, honestly, if I had to list like who has the best acting chops in the MCU, it's probably actually Jeremy Renner. It's like Jeremy Renner and Tom Hiddleston are probably actually two of the best actors in the MCU. Yeah, those guys probably have the best chops. Tom Holland's incredible too, but yeah. Morgan Freeman? Whoa. Only if he reads the opening crawl. And instead of the opening crawl, the way we've seen it, it's Morgan Freeman crawling and reading it. That would be pretty dope. Benedict Cumberbatch is actually a great actor. You're absolutely right. Palpatine TV show? I don't know about that. Where are you hearing that from? Yeah, I mean, Brie could be the Night Sister. Brie could be a Twi'lek, all sorts of different things. How long until Disney does a Star Wars series / movie about a brand new character? I don't know. I mean, technically, Fallen Order is kind of about a brand new character. You know? Ooh, Callum Smith says Jake Gyllenhaal. Jake Gyllenhaal is probably the best actor in the MCU, but he's only been in one movie, so. But yeah, he's incredible. Oh, man. All right, guys, I'm going to do one more question, and we're going to get out of here. One more question. One more. Just one more. Help me. Jake Gyllenhaal as Raven could be really crazy. I agree. I agree with that. Could be really cool. Mandalorian is about a new character. Very true. Very true. Yo, peace out, Constable. Peace out. I need one more question. One more question. Yaddle. Yaddle or Yarl Proof ever coming back? Yo, Star Wars anime would be sick. Star Wars anime would be sick. I actually love the Star Wars mangas. There's a manga adaptation of Lost Stars, which is incredible. So I really, really like it. But yeah, Star Wars anime would be really sweet. Maybe they should get that going. That would be really cool. As far as Yaddle coming back, yes, please. That would be awesome. Or just at least more of those people. And I'll answer just this last one here. How do I feel about the Yuzon Vong? Not a big fan. A little too Marvel-y for me. A little too weird. Not quite Star Wars, in my opinion. But cool. Like, it was cool, particularly like how they were resistance to the Force. Some really cool stuff with Luke Skywalker and fighting them and, like, using a bunch of different sabers to fight them and stuff like that. So, yeah, there's some really cool. Ooh, Rail Avaros at the temple. That would be pretty dope. Okay, everybody, I'm going to get on out here. Thanks for hanging out with us during this fan chat live. Yeah, this is absolutely wild news. I really still don't even know what to do. My head is still kind of boggled about it. So I'm sure we'll be talking about this much, much more in the months to come. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.